In this GoPro tips and tricks video, we're looking at the 360 degree swivel mount from Mutter. So this is the mount, and we'll take a very brief tour of it and then we'll install it on a helmet and give it a try. So basically the mount comes with the bolt you need for your GoPro, the nut pre-installed, and then a piece of adhesive to attach it down to the helmet. And this is true VHB 3M adhesive. This is exactly the same adhesive mount that comes on the genuine GoPro accessory. So definitely there's not going to be any problem holding this mount onto your helmet. And the piece of adhesive is actually larger than that which comes on GoPro mount. So if anything, this mount is going to attach to the helmet better than a standard GoPro mount. But that brings us to the mount itself. So unlike traditional GoPro mounts, which mount using the buckle mount system, the 360 degree swivel mount from Mutter mounts using this swivel base. You see it's a bit differently shaped, and the GoPro mount is permanently attached to it. So the drawback from this mount compared to a GoPro mount is, whereas the GoPro mount, you're just mounting that very slim buckle mount onto the helmet. With this, you're actually mounting a full GoPro mount. So it's going to be a little bit more high profile all the time. So just keep that in mind when you're mounting it. These aren't going to be mounts that you just mount and forget about. They're going to be more obvious that they're mounted onto your helmet. But they do have some really cool features, and of course that's the fact that they swivel. So if you look right now, we have this mount in swivel mode, and you can see that the GoPro mount swivels independently of the base, and we just can spin it around here to almost any position we want. And then once we find a position that we're happy with, this little toggle here on the side, this is the lock, we can push it in, and it locks the mount into its nearest locking hole. Now, if you look down the bottom here, we can get a bit of an idea of how this works. So this rotating base piece here of the camera has a whole bunch of little notches on the bottom of it, and then obviously this locking arm locks into those notches and holds it in place. So that's a tour of the mount. Let's put it on a helmet, give it a try, and then talk a little bit about whether or not this is a good idea and if whether or not it's something you should invest in. So we've got our Mutter 360 swivel mount mounted up on our helmet, and it looks really cool. We can push this button on the side and then rotate our camera to any angle we want. Push the other side of the locking mechanism to lock the camera in place, and it won't spin, and it's super easy to change angles. We just push in, rotate, push back into lock, and the camera won't move. This is a really cool concept, and it's absolutely awesome. Or it would be if the mount didn't vibrate and move around so badly that footage from it was basically unusable on a head mount. And it's really too bad. If you watch me move this camera from side to side, you'll notice how much movement the mount has. And that's just because the mount is using two separate pieces which are locking together with this little plastic locking arm. And that's all they're doing to stop mount movement. The GoPro buckle mounts have two pieces, but that buckle mount is really secure. And we have that rubber nose stopper, doohickey vibration stopper thing we jam in it to make that mount super, super secure. This one, they're trying to keep it simpler because they want to be able to rotate it really easily, but that's leading to this vibration problem. And you notice here, if I rotate this camera sideways, there's a lot of movement, and that's because there's give on those teeth and there's give in this arm. So there's a lot of little movement, and that all is adding up to this mount having a fair amount of play in it. But this mount does have some places where it would be really useful. Helmet mounting is not one of them, because if you think about helmet mounting, we mount the buckle mount on the center of our helmet at the top, and that buckle mount allows us to shoot forward and backwards, and those are the only really two angles we would need while helmet mounting. Now this mount rotates 360 degrees and can lock into any of them. So somewhere a mount like this might be more useful and more practical would be, let's say, car mounting. You could mount this car on the center of the dashboard, and then you'd be able to angle it towards both the driver, the passenger facing forwards to get where you're going, and then you'd even be able to face it backwards and maybe put super view on and pick up both the driver, the passenger, and the people in the back seat. And you wouldn't have to worry about the vibration that the mounts can put into your shot, because the car's got suspension and you're not going to get a vibration problem because the car's fairly steady. So maybe not for helmet mounting, this mount may not be perfect, but there's lots and lots of places where a mount like this can be super useful and versatile. I got one more update to this video. I just wanted to make sure I told you guys this so that no one tried to helmet mount with this mount and then got mad at me because it broke. But when I was playing with this mount afterwards, I realized that this top piece of the swivel is not actually attached to the base all that well, and with just a little bit of force, you can pop out the rotating piece of the mount. So again, like we said in the actual video review, make sure you do not helmet mount with this. It's not a great mount for helmet mounting. If you took any kind of impact on the camera would pop out of this and you could lose your GoPro, so don't do that. But for interior car shots, this could be still a great mount. In conclusion, then, this mount is a really cool idea with a neat concept that just wasn't executed quite perfectly in order to be a great helmet mount. But that doesn't mean it's a horrible mount, and there are some places like car mounting where it could be really cool. It's cheap enough that if you think you might use it and place one permanently in your car to get some cool shots while driving, you could do that. Check out the Mutter Amazon store down in the video description, where there's also a link to this product. Guys, thank you very much for watching. This was another GoPro tips and tricks video. If you guys have enjoyed it, please make sure you check out my channel, like the video, and subscribe. If you've got any questions or comments, leave them down below. I read all of them and respond. If there's any products or DIY tips you'd like to see featured on the show, make sure you leave them down there as well. Until next time, guys, thank you very, very much for watching.